Welcome to the channel. This is Roger Thunder. Sometimes I sit around and ponder how things got so out of hand in this country. And I have to reflect on the origins of when the white man first came into this North American continent called Turtle Island. When they first set foot on here, they were welcomed with open arms by the natives of this land. And that was a big mistake. It was a big mistake. Can you imagine what would have happened if they saw the ships coming in and they just lined up on the shore and said, "You're not coming in here. Who are you? What do you want? You're not coming in here." Of course, the mindset of the native was a peaceful mindset, more or less, or at least a welcoming mindset. Did the natives have their wars before the white man came? Yes. But it was a whole different ball of wax. It was a whole different ball of wax. Their wars were more connected with honor and having to do with coming of manhood, proving themselves, warrior-hunter type situation, not outright brutal genocidal warfare. That wasn't the deal. That never happened. Never even came close to happening. So the original people of this land were warriors, yes, and they had honor in their war. There was honor in it. You could go up and you didn't even have to kill somebody. You could just go up and count coup on them, which meant you just went up and touched them to show your courage. Courage and honor. True warriorship. And sometimes I wonder, I ask Great Spirit, or I question Great Spirit as to why it was allowed that the white man come on this shore and decimate and commit genocide on the indigenous people of this land. And the only answer, see, I don't understand Great Spirit's ways. I cannot understand Great Spirit. I can't even come close to understanding Great Spirit. I just have faith in Great Spirit, and I have faith that whatever is happening was meant to be happening for a reason, but that doesn't mean I can't understand certain things. But I did have certain things come to me in my questioning of why this land was overtaken by genocidal Christian maniacs, basically. Got a couple of answers. One of them was what I just talked about. In other words, if we're stewards of the land, if the natives are stewards of this land, my brothers and sisters, natives, if they were set to be sent here to be stewards of this land, they failed because they let the land get overrun. Now, was it their fault? No, because they had good hearts, and that's a plus. That's a plus. But had they realized sooner, even, let's say the white man came into this land and made incursions into different areas of the land in the east and started moving in with bad intent. It's up to the stewards of this land and the natives of this land to recognize, hey, this is something is not good here. And so they did realize that later on when the incursion just got so great and the conditions got intolerable as far as people with their wagon trains coming across the plains and leaving junk and garbage and refuse and dead bodies and furniture because they couldn't make it across, and hunting for gold, and digging up the mountains and digging up the sacred hills in the Dakotas, and all of the stuff they did that was evil, okay, evil. So the first conclusion that I came to is that you have to fight, and you have to fight with honor. What is fighting with honor? Fighting with honor is to protect your land, or just Mother Earth in general, because natives never thought it was their land. They just respected it as the land, okay, that supplied everything they needed. But a little bit more insight, or a little bit more wisdom, or whatever, and I'm not blaming anybody here, but what I'm saying in retrospect, the day they let the white man set foot on this land, and let's also throw into the mix here the Christian white man. What makes a white man? Well, it's ideology. It's really, you can be as white as a sheet and be an Indian, have an Indian heart, and want to live next to the earth, and be in tune with Unsi Maka, Mother Earth, Grandfather Sky, Wakantanka, and Tunkashila, the spirit of the whole thing. You can be any color and have an indigenous heart, all right? So what do I mean when I say white man? Okay, well, because natives are not racist, they're not prejudiced. They don't, think of color. They didn't think of that till later. Then that was an identifier. But what is a white man? What does that include? Well, it includes a mindset, and that usually went along with the Christian ethic, which was no ethic at all when you look at it. The Christian ethic, let's define Christian: Christ in, or Christianity representing Christ, or representing the teachings of Christ, or a peaceful mindset, or peace on earth, or turn the other cheek, or love your enemies, that type thing. The problem is that Christians don't live up to that. Never did, never will. It got infected with other things, which is, too long a story to go into here. But the Christians, and I watch certain people, I watch all these movements in America, because America is going through the same thing that the indigenous people of this land went through, as far as tyranny and genocide and all the things that we saw back then, we experienced, are being reborn now in this land, okay? And so the people in this land are basically faced with the same situation that we were faced with when the white man set his foot on this land. So it's about warriorship. It's about warriorship, and it's about whether you want to die fighting or die on your knees. Do you want to die being subservient and being a pablum eater, or do you want to fight being a meat eater? And that's a metaphor. So the whole remedy was, for back then when these people came in, like the Spaniards came up from the south, the Brits and the Canadians came in from up north. The Mayflower people came in from the east, from England and Spain, and so basically you had an attack from all sides, and every time there was an attack, the natives of this land were too complacent, too welcoming, too complacent, not identifying who the real enemy was, not knowing. Of course, you can't blame them. They had no idea what the ideology or mindset of these people were. But just foreigners coming in should have raised a red arrow, let's say, a red flag, a red arrow. In other words, who are these people? Let's check them out. Let's question them. Let's find out what they're all about. Because when the people came over on the Mayflower, there wasn't enough of them at first to make a difference. They could have eliminated them right then or kicked them out or whatever. So basically what happened is that the population of the whites grew. It was an influx. And along with them came their Christian mentality, their white mentality, basically. European white. This happened even before they got here, when they persecuted and killed the so-called quote-unquote pagans. Substitute pagans for the word savages, and you have the same thing. They called us savages. So, pagan, savage, in other words, anybody that dances around a campfire and is happy and lives off the bounty of the land and worships the land. That's the definition of the word pagan, you know, nature worship. So when anybody did this, they were considered weird. They were considered evil, and they were considered devils. And who were the devils? Were they the ones that came in and forced Christianity and their Bible, which was their sacred way, according to them, but our sacred way was the land? It was the land. And when you didn't believe their sacred way, all of a sudden you were either killed or burned at stakes or tortured or any number of other things in order to comply. And look what's going on today. This is you shall sow what, you shall reap what you sow. That's what this is in America now today. And I'm glad you're getting a dose of it, white man. Because you need to get a dose of it. You're being turned into neutered people. There is no manhood anymore, or there is no warriorship anymore. As far as realizing who your enemy is and fighting with honor. And I see all these groups, popping up around here and there, and one of the groups is under the label of being a patriotic group. Our Country, Our Choice is the name of the group, and you got this Colonel McGregor on there, who talks a real good talk. He nails it. He basically says a lot of truth, all right? He says a lot of truth about what's happened to the country here, and the country known as America. A false country, really. It's coming from a patriotic angle, And his solution is first he comes out and says that politics is completely corrupt and is run by special lobbyists and the AIPAC, which is the Jewish lobby, and the Zionist, and it's completely overtaken, and it's run by an oligarch. And then he turns right around, and he says Congress and all the politicians are bought and paid for. But then he turns right around and says, at the end of his speech or getting on his bully pulpit, he turns around and says, the only way that we're going to overcome this evil that has taken over our land is to band together and be united, and oh yeah, the end result of that being united is to get into a grassroots effort to call your representatives. Really, people? First you say the representatives are crooked and snake oil salesmen and criminals and murderers, and then you say call them up to it's laughable, really, to make a difference. If enough people call, really? Why do you think I'm doing this video and telling you about what happened to natives? You have to recognize your enemy and you have to take action. It's that simple. You have to take warrior action, right? You'd have to fight an honorable war. You have to, you have to fight a crazy horse war or a Geronimo war, a just war against incursion of the enemy that is going to kill your family, kill your friends, kill you, is in the process of doing that. You're already a slave. You're already on a reservation. And the same problem that is besetting you is the same one that went down back then, not recognizing your enemy. Getting involved in petty squabbles and petty divisions and being marginalized is the problem here. So what you have to do is you have to fight. You have to fight. And I don't see that fighting happen, you recognizing who your enemy is, and I don't see any kind of action in any way against fighting this in some way, shape, or form, whether it's getting out into the streets in the millions, or taking up arms or weapons or whatever. We fought back then in the day. Bows and arrows were the name of the game, and spears and lances. Bow and arrow can do a lot of damage in itself. You better believe, and just knife fighting. Hand-to-hand combat, knife fighting, all was done, camouflage, guerrilla fighting. And then eventually the Apaches and other tribes got guns. And then that changed the situation a little bit. But they didn't have a lot of stuff like hundreds of platoons and cannons and things of that nature. Artillery. So it's called being behind the 8 ball, is what it's called. Allowing certain things to take place and then finding yourself behind the 8 ball, which is a playing pool saying that indicates that you can't make the shot. And so you can't make the shot. You're behind the 8 ball. You've let things get out of hand. But true warriorship is, and even in your own constitution, the white man's constitution, you say things like, you know, for God and country and all this stuff, and equality for all men, and no tyranny, and the right to bear arms, and even in your constitution, and constitutions aren't bad because even the First Nations had a constitution, and we had peacemakers, the Iroquois, and the, you know, that whole area back there in the Northeast had constitutions that were peaceful, and the whole thing. Matter of fact, some of the Constitution was taken from that, the American Constitution. So even that has been, you know, even your own Constitution says that you have the right to rise up and you have the right to fight. To fight. Tyranny. And so being a warrior means you get up and fight. You don't get down on your knees and grovel and beg and, you know, carry on when you with your life when you can obviously see that your life's getting exponentially worse day by day by day. You're becoming more of a slave. You're on the reservation, basically. You're in a damn concentration camp. They might as well put a number on you, which they already have. So being a warrior is not a bad thing. Peace is better. Peace is better. That's what being an honorable warrior is about, is that you want peace. Doesn't mean you want war, brother. It means you want peace. You want peace of mind. You want to be left alone. You want to live off the land. You want to live off the fruits of your own labor. And you want peace. But you're never going to have peace as long as you don't stand up. Crazy Horse, Tusunke Wiko, a supreme warrior, once said at the Battle of Little Bighorn, "Hoka hey, it is a good day to die." Of course, that's been misinterpreted a bit because, yes, he meant it is a good day to die, but he also meant courage up, my brothers. That's what the actual meaning of that term, Hoka hey, courage up, my brothers. Courage. That's one of the virtues of the many indigenous nations, including Lakota. Virtue, honor, perseverance, humility, wisdom, the list goes, love. The indigenous people were basically a peaceful people. The Hopi people, the many tribes were basically just wanted to be at peace. But that was not allowed. It wasn't to be, okay, because they didn't recognize who the enemy really was. And they, you know, they had their form of who they thought their enemy was, as far as other tribes and stuff, but they had no idea who their real enemy really was. And by the time they did realize that, they couldn't band together in enough time to handle the situation, although they tried, just like the Battle of Little Bighorn, with Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull at the helm, taking out Custer and Reno and the whole ball of wax. Even General Crook they took out before that and had a big battle and took him out, repelled him. They had the force and the will to do it. But it should have been done sooner. That's the whole thing, before there were just, oh, you know, a whole, like an ant colony of white men coming across the land. I mean, just numbers that they couldn't even imagine. Numbers of people carrying with them their refuse and their junk and their diseases, and giving that to the people of this land on blankets. That's called chemical warfare. Killing them, torturing them. The natives didn't get into that. You know, you see these movies about scalping and all that. You know, that came from the French, actually. That came from the white man, the scalping thing. They just went with the program, you know. They said, well, if they can do that, we can do that. A lot of stuff brought over to this country was nasty, despicable, deplorable. Let's tell it like it is. Dirty, filthy, refuse, filthy minds and filthy habits, all right? Now, am I saying that there were no good, you know, settlers? And no, that's not what I'm saying at all. But you could see what, you know, you could see where it went. And it doesn't take a, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the America, your America, all right, has already, the enemy has already made incursions and taken over completely. And I'm tired of hearing about the, you know, the whole thing is a political answer. Politics is like the Christian religion. Politics is a lie. It's hypocritical. It's deceiving. Let's tell it like it is. And Christianity and the forcing of it on the indigenous people of this land. I mean, forcing kids into school, washing their mouth out with lye soap, forcing native kids to cut their hair, to not talk their language, to be tortured, raped, mutilated, beaten. Let's tell it like it is. And I heard this Mr. Tucker Carlson the other day. Another person speaking a lot of truth. But then twisting it to seem like somehow that the Christians are being set upon in this country. And, well, maybe it's karma. Maybe it's karma coming back to bite you in the ass. Maybe that's what it is. Let's tell it like it is. The stuff you did, and I made a comment on that channel, and boy, that was never answered, never commented on, anything. You know when you're telling the truth, you know when you're telling the truth when nobody has the balls to come back and tell you you're not, you know, or question you. That's when you know you're telling the truth. You're telling the truth when you do videos like this and they only get a certain amount of views. That's when you're telling the truth. And the few that hear it, might get something out of that and pass it along. This whole land here, this whole country that was once beautiful rolling hills with people that lived in accordance with it and hunted what they need and didn't take too much and weren't into materialism and had no idea what the hell gold was or silver as far as like being worth a lot of money or something. To them, it was just another part of the land, another part of the sacred land, another mineral. But when the white man came over here, he decimated everything. His incursions with the railroad and the rails and the shooting of the buffalo and shore to shore and taking this land and that land and making this a territory and that a territory and stealing from the Mexican people and making that part of their land. And no wonder that this country, it seems like everything that is evil in the world right now is emanating from what happened in this country. Think about that a minute. It's emanating from here. It's emanating from what they call America. It's because they're saying America is the hegemon and America controls the petrodollar and this and that. I mean, it's all about America, and America seems to be the big problem here with the BRICS nations and other nations and other mostly indigenous people, when you think about it. Mostly indigenous people, third world people, Eurasian people, BRICS, you know, Brazil. They're forming all together to go, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's all originating from this land called America, and America has been putting out a death ray. A death ray. There's rays that come through people and groups of people on a much higher level. We're talking on a metaphysical level here. We're talking on a spiritual level. There's toxic rays that are projected out of each individual, and if they're not on the red road, which is the good road, if they're on the black road, then they're spewing out death rays through their energetic body. It's another thing the white man doesn't understand, is a true spirituality, a true connection with spirit, a true connection with, you know, Mother Earth, Grandmother Earth, and Grandfather Sky, and nature, and the spirit that moves in all things. That's another thing they don't understand. They lost their connection with it through technology. And they always had technology. Even when they came over here, they were ahead in that game. You know, they had the cannons and the steam engines and, you know, the this and the that and the boats and being able to build square houses for square lunkheads and that type thing. So they had the technology. And they had more guns. Which brings you right back to the same old thing about gun control and why they want guns, just like they did to the natives back in the day. They took their guns, and then when the natives were able to get more guns, regardless of how much they tried to take them away, well, then they took the powder for the guns, the ammo. It was kind of a losing battle. I mean, obviously it was a losing battle, wasn't it? So is that the way that, you know, you people out there today, is that where you are today? Is that what you're facing today? Well, good. Good. That's good for you. Maybe you'll finally learn. Maybe you'll learn what it means to live next to the earth and not rape it of its resources with no thought of how it would replenish, or how the animals would replenish, or how the forests would replenish. This is good for you. And I'm glad you're going to experience it, and you are, because maybe someday you will wake up and you will find out who your real enemy really is. And that enemy is born in the mind. It's an ideology. It's a mindset. It's a white. And again, I'm going to clarify what I say by when I mean white. It's a state of mind. It has nothing to do with skin color. It's an incursion state of mind. I'm going to move in on these people. I'm going to decimate these people. I'm going to remove all spiritual concepts that these people have. And if you want to claim about, well, it's your Christianity that's going down the tube, that's your spiritual concept. Welcome to the indigenous world. Welcome to the reservation. This needs to be said, and you know, there's all kinds of prophecy that foretold this in all tribes, all tribal tradition. And now you're going to have to face up to the fact that you're being plowed under. Good. It's good for you. You should have learned the lesson, just like we should have learned the lesson. It's gotten out of hand, and it kind of makes you wonder if America is the center of the world, supposedly, and controlling the whole monetary system, the green frog skins, as Lame Deer would have put it. If they're controlling all that, the source of the problem is America, and the source of the problem in the very beginning was the construction of America, stolen on the bodies and slit throats and massacres of men, women, and children, and a genocide. And then people are surprised that, you know, you hear all these talking heads, people are surprised that it's just so easy to accept genocide, and that, you know, they have people from the Zionists and the head of the Zionists coming over and talking before Congress and saying outright how they just love butchering people and innocents and that, and getting standing ovations. Getting standing ovations for saying, I'm a butcher and I'm proud of it, and I killed men, women, children, innocents. So you wonder, if you ever wondered about the original history of the natives and what they went through, you have to know now what the mindset is, what the evil, what the secret agenda, the secret dis-ease, sickness of the mind created this. And you can't help but wonder why Christianity is tied in with this. Right? All Christians, them. God, country, apple pie, we go to war for democracy and freedom. We're God, God is with our country. God, their God. What is their God? What is their God? Who is their God? Is this the kind of God that I like? Or that the people of the earth like? So I don't want to hear about any kind of, whining and moaning from these people. Our country, our choice. And I'm not putting them down. Maybe they're trying in their own way. Or any of these political outreach organizations or offshoots or even people that you feel are advocating for the patriotic way and all that good shit. It's a trap. It's a lie. You can't solve a problem. You can't, if it's like the fox guarding the hen house or the coyote You know, you can't go to the same people that are putting you in subjugation and ask them for a solution to the problem. That's just insanity. Outright. Go to your captors and ask them to give you a way to solve the problem of you being in captivity to them. Boy, that makes sense, does it? Call your congressman. Turn in your weapons. The government knows what's best for you. So that's it. That's what I have to say on this day. Because it just gets a little bit much. Gets a little bit much, and you have to start reflecting. And when you pray to Great Spirit, and when you're saying, why is this allowed? Why are you allowing this in this world? Or why did you allow it back then even? Hoka-hey. Maybe that was a cue to say, hey, I'm giving you this, but you have to fight for it. You have to, if people try to take it away from you that aren't good, and that's the duality of it. That's the duality of it. And I'm talking today in strict duality. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. It's going to take me forever to upload this video because anything over 30 minutes, I don't even know. This is already at 41 minutes. If you want to join the prayer circle, the Red Road Prayer Circle, it's actually a medicine circle. Feel free to, go to spiritofcrazyhorse.com in the show notes below and email me from there or donate. My books are there too. So just a good place to go, spiritofcrazyhorse.com. And I try to live in the spirit of Crazy Horse. That's why I named it that. And I try to live in the spirit of Geronimo and my other inspirational figures, mentors, whatever. I'll leave it there. Till I talk to you again, Wopila, thank you. Like the video, I guess, and aho.